friends, you're in the Military Summary channel. In this video we're going to discuss the most important events that took place during the previous 12 hours. We have a lots of very interesting at this solo start. And first we're going to talk about Ukraine. According to media, according to information we have, the coldest week of the winter has begun for Ukraine, and we see, according to different articles and different reports that were stated by Ukrainian authorities, Ukraine is not ready for this winter, for this cold period of time. According to Mayor Klitschko, mayor of Kiev Klitschko, about 300 multi-story apartment buildings remain without heating in Kiev. The situation without electricity remains very difficult, with critical infrastructure facilities powered by powerful generators and mobile boiler houses. Another important article: Kiev partial blackout. Today's power outages in the capital are reaching 17 hours, and this is the longest timing since the beginning of the special military operation. 17 hours without electricity when there is minus 20 by Celsius, let's say, on the street. Another important thing is how the Ukrainian authorities are fighting with the situation, are trying to stabilize the crisis in the energy sector, and they have their own vision of this. Sometimes I don't understand what exactly they're doing, but this is their approach. Ukrainian Prime Minister Syridenko ordered all regional administrations to reduce energy consumption by removing unnecessary lighting from buildings, streets, and areas, and by removing backlit advertising. So this is the approach of Ukrainian authorities: not to build additional generators, not to create additional protections, but to force people to turn off the light. Another important thing, and another side of the medal: strong price increases expected in Ukraine due to shelling, bread, vegetables, and eggs, most likely, and meat and everything. So we are at the beginning of the huge economical crisis in Ukraine, and most likely within the next 2 months or 3 months it will only intensify and can lead also to a partial collapse of the entire economy of Ukraine. At the same time, the president of Ukraine, Zelensky, had lots of very interesting meetings during the previous 12 hours. The most important one was with the former commander-in-chief of the armed forces of Ukraine, Valery Zaluzhny. Zelensky stated that he met with Valery Zaluzhny, thanked him for his work in the Ukrainian team. So this is a very important meeting because Valery Zaluzhny is an ambassador on the territory of the United Kingdom from Ukrainian side. So he came back to Ukraine at the beginning of 2026, and the sources are saying that the United Kingdom is trying to force Zelensky to apply Valery Zaluzhny on the position of the head of intelligence service. So the United Kingdom is trying to control everything in Ukraine. So very difficult to understand whether Zelensky is going to accept this or not, but he is under very heavy pressure. Furthermore, Zelensky stated that Russian attacks in such a cold winter are causing us serious problems. And currently one of the most important problems is not even the city of Kiev, but the city of Kharkiv. Let's discuss this in details. The sources are saying that 400,000 people left without electricity and heat in Kharkiv. That was, by the way, stated by the president of Ukraine, Zelensky. According to information we have, and as we discussed yesterday, Russians yesterday launched 5 Iskander missiles in the direction of the city of Kharkiv, and there were heavy explosions. And the sources are saying that the Russians managed to destroy a very important object of critical infrastructure. The Russian forces has destroyed a major critical energy infrastructure facility. The emergency response team is working 24 hours per 7 days a week with emergency services and specialists on site. We are doing everything possible to minimize the impact of the Russian strikes and maintain control of the situation. So the sources emphasize that it looks like the power station number 5 is in really bad shape. That was stated by different sources. So currently there are 2 cities in Ukraine that have huge problems: the city of Kiev and the city of Kharkiv. The next in line are the cities of Dnipro and the city of Odessa. So this is the situation, but at the same time we see that Zelensky is not accepting anything from the Russian side. Zelensky is not going to accept Russia's demands. Zelensky is not going to negotiate with Russians. So which means that both the Russians and the Ukrainians are preparing themselves before the next massive missile and drone attack through the territory of Ukraine. And the second or even the third day in a row, Ukrainians are publishing videos with their anti-drone drones. We have discussed this video yesterday. Once again, let's take a look at this video. Here we can see the Russian Geran drone that was flying probably somewhere above the city of Kiev or maybe somewhere above the city of Kharkiv, and this drone was attacked by Ukrainian anti-drone. So this is exactly what the Ukrainians are going to do within the next attack that is going to take place probably during the next 2 days or 3 days. So when Russians will send hundreds of drones and dozens of missiles, the Ukrainians will try to do everything they can with the purpose to destroy as many as possible Russian drones with these anti-drone drones, and then to sell this technology to Western countries or to get additional finance for these purposes. At the same time, today we got a very interesting report published by pro-Ukrainian sources. The Ukrainians are saying that for the first time a Russian BM-35 drone has been confirmed as operating via Starlink, allowing it to resist electronic warfare and carry out precise strikes under direct operator control from within Russia. So Ukrainians are saying that Russians actively use Starlink system with the purpose to attack the objects of critical infrastructure. So this is something that most likely Ukrainians didn't expect. Obviously, they will try to change the situation, but as for the current political situation in the world, this is going to be very difficult for them. Now let's discuss the situation on the ground, and first let's talk about the northern part of the Sumy region. During the previous 24 hours, the Russians improved their positions in this area, according to pro-Ukrainian sources. Pro-Ukrainian sources published a very interesting article about the situation in this area. So as you can see, according to them, the Russians during the previous 24 hours expanded the gray zone in this area by taking under complete control at least half of these huge forests to the south of the settlement of Bela Ozera, Bela Bereza. So the Russians continue intensifying their offensive operation, continue improving their positions along the border between Ukraine and the Russian Federation. So it seems that that wasn't something like just a regular media attack from the Russian side with the purpose to announce that another no-name settlement was captured. It seems that the Russians are intensifying their offensive operation with the purpose, as we discussed during the previous videos, to take under complete control the launching site that Ukrainians used to attack deep inside of the territory of the Russian Federation. Ukrainians used this territory to launch drones and missiles in the direction of the city of Moscow, in the direction of northern part regions of the Russian Federation, and based on the report that the United Kingdom was developing or about to finish the development of a new missile that has the range of 500 kilometers and 250 kilos warhead, this means that this situation will force the Russians to become very active in this area with the purpose to force the Ukrainians to fall back from this territory and to create additional gap. So we expect that in 2026 this area is going to be very active. I'm not saying that the Russians need this. The Russians have lots of things to do along the classic line of combat contact, but this situation with missiles, this situation with drones will force the Russians to pause their, let's say, classical offensive operation, classical direction in favor of the northern regions of Ukraine. So if they don't do this, Ukraine most likely by the end of the year will have the possibilities to use missiles to attack deep inside of Russia. As for the attacks during the previous 24 hours, according to information we have, Ukrainians launched another massive missile attack through the territory of the Russian Federation. The sources are saying that just over the past nights, the Russian air defense system managed to intercept and to destroy 106 drones of the armored forces of Ukraine. And some of them managed to get even the city of Ryazan. So this is the video that was published from the settlement of Ryazan, and here we can see a small explosion. According to this video, a drone attacked or was intercepted by a multi-story building in the central part of the city. So Ukrainians, this is not the first day. The Ukrainians every single day are attacking deep inside of the territory of the Russian Federation using hundreds of drones. As for the Russians, they are still accumulating and collecting forces before a massive attack that once again most likely is going to happen within the next days or even hours. As for the situation on the ground, let's talk about the city of Volchansk. During the previous 12 hours, additional changes on the ground were recorded. This is the situation, these are the changes on the ground between the 15th and the 16th of January. The Russians, according to pro-Russian sources, managed to improve their positions on the territory of the settlement of Volchansky Hutory. So as you can see, currently Russians control up to 50% of the settlement, and most likely in coming days the battle for this territory would be finished. Once again, this information was provided by a pro-Russian source. As for the Kupiansk direction, during the previous 12 hours, additional changes on the ground were also recorded. So we have two videos of how Russians and Ukrainians were attacking each other. So here we can see how Russians were attacking the forces of the armored forces of Ukraine along the RA-79 road. This video we can see here, we can see a drone that was attacking Ukrainian units. Based on this video, we have adjusted the territory along R-79 road in Ukrainian favor. So these are the changes. And another video was published by pro-Ukrainian sources of how Russians were trying to cross the river Voskol and to improve their positions in the northern part of the city of Kupiansk. Based on this video, we have improved the territory along the western bank of the river Voskol in Russian favor. So we see that there are very heavy clashes for the northern part of the city of Kupiansk, and the Russians are trying to regain positions they lost during the Ukrainian counteroffensive. Now let's talk about the Barova direction. We have already discussed the situation in this region, and today we have additional changes. So this is how the map was changing between the dates. This is the end of the 14th, this is the end of the 15th, and this is the end of the 16th of January of 2026. According to pro-Russian sources, the armored forces of the Russian Federation by the beginning of the 16th of January of 2026 established complete control over every single settlement in the Lugansk region. So this is a very important piece of news. So currently, according to different mappers, according to different sources, according to updates that we received during the previous days, there are no more towns or settlements that are under control of the armored forces of Ukraine. There are just towns and cities under control of the Russian Federation or in the Gray Zone. So most likely in coming days, the Minister of Defense of the Russian Federation will announce this. So this is basically the first achievement of one of the goals of the special military operation that were announced by the President of Russia in 2022. Only in 4 years this was completed. So anyway, we don't have 100% proofs, because all these villages are in the gray zone. We're talking about these three villages, the village of Grekovka, Novoigorovka, and the eastern Novoigorovka, but they are not under control of Ukraine, according to different sources. So let's wait and see, and most likely this will be used by Russians as a very huge media victory. As for the Liman direction, the Russians continue attacking and destroying the logistics of the armored forces of Ukraine in this area. In this video, we can see how Russians discovered another pontoon bridge, maybe not discovered because they saw this bridge, most likely Ukrainians just finished the repairing of this crossing after the previous attack, and when the bridge was repaired, the Russians attacked the territory immediately. So this is the third river crossing bridge that was destroyed by Russians along the river of Seversky Donetsk since the beginning, or damaged since the beginning of the year. The Russians are trying to cut the logistic, and they're trying to make Ukrainians as exhausted as possible, and only then we're gonna see the major offensive operation. As for the Slaviansk direction, during the previous 12 hours, the most important updates came from the area of MO3 road. The Russians, according to pro-Russian sources, as you can see, managed to improve their position significantly. Basically, pro-Russian sources stated that the village of Minkivka was completely captured and secured by the armored forces of the Russian Federation, which is a very important defense layer of the armored forces of Ukraine in this area. Now let's move further. As for the Konstantinovka and the Dobropolye directions, during the previous 24 hours, nothing special. As for the Zaporozhye direction, the Russians continue their offensive operation, and today pro-Ukrainian sources confirmed that the city of Guliapole was completely captured by the armored forces of the Russian Federation. There are just several blocks and micro-districts of the western part of the city that still remain in the gray zone, according to pro-Ukrainian sources, but the most important is that they confirmed. Furthermore, right before we start making this video, several sources reported that the settlement of Alena Konstantinovka was also captured by the armored forces of the Russian Federation. So if it happens, if this is the exact situation, of course we will adjust the map and we will discuss this in details before the next video. And that's it for the short video. Military with Summary channel reminds we condemn any violence in the world. Thank you for watching. Subscribe to my channel, put your likes, join my Patreon, and have a good day. Bye bye.